Now let's look at the startup pyramid in more details. As I mentioned in the previous video, the three core sections of the startup pyramid break down into many, many more steps. And today what we're going to do is to look at the bottom layer. That bottom layer has two steps. First, the very foundational step is people and solution. We're going to spend some time identifying these two variables and understanding what they mean. And the next step above that is going to be a strong desire to change. When we say people, we are talking about the customers that you want to serve. We also call these people your target audience. So you might hear me say this a few times. So what kind of word can you use to define your target audience? It can be demographic. So you could say that this is for male aged between 18 and 25 that live in a certain region. But there are also many other ways of grouping people by an identifiable trait. So who do you want to sell to? There's also a huge benefit of being able to be precise. And you might think, why do I want to be precise? I want everyone to be using my solution. It's really tempting to say this, and that's actually a rookie mistake that is done. And eventually, it is true that a lot of people will get the benefit from your solution. But when you start, you need to start small. The more specific you can get about this, the better your chances of success, and this is why. When you are focusing on a small group of people, it means that you can actually learn everything about them and really get to understand their need. And that also means come up with a better solution. When you're testing your product, the feedback you're going to get will also be significantly more precise because it's going to be a small group of people that tends to act the same way. So just imagine how much more precise this is and how much more actionable, and how much that increases your chance of building something that can really be amazing for them. The other part is that see how you'll get to know these people so well. It's actually going to be easy for you to understand, what does good design look like? What does good marketing look like for these people? You'll know who they are, you'll know how to speak to them, you'll know where they hang out, and you'll know why your product will change their lives. And I want to give you an example about this. If you know the boot company UGG, you might be thinking, it's a boot company, everyone has 2 feet, a lot of people wear boots in the world. But they actually have an origin story that really adopts that principle of being very narrow, and it did them a lot of good. When UGG started off, their first target audience was actually surfers. And it might sound counterintuitive, right? Something that looks like winter boots with sheepskin to surfers that hang out at the beach. But the reason why this was such a great match, it's because by going so narrow and finding people that had certain pain points, they were able to talk about their boots in a way that really resonated to their surfers, and honestly established such a core fan base that it just helped like everything else as they kept on growing their business. So when surfers go out surfing, a lot of the time they're surfing in very cold conditions. They might have full body suits, and when you're cold, and especially if you're hanging out in the water, your extremities will be extremely cold. So a lot of the time surfers come out and have very, very cold feet. Hence, boots might be something really amazing for them. But the other part though is that if you know, and if you have spent a lot of time in the water, you will know that skin gets very sensitive when it is wet for so long, and it's very prone to blistering. So instead of wearing something that will rub in weird ways, having a pair of boots that is softly lined inside is really a gift for these surfers. And by being able to know that they were targeting surfers very early on, just imagine how everything else became easy. Selling to them became really easy because they had very specific pain points to talk about. They could market to them in a way that was great because surfers are a certain kind of people. They have a vibe to them, they have a design to them, and just everything became so much easier within their business. That's what I'm also hoping that you are able to achieve. It's to understand, what are the clients that you will start with? Who are these people very precisely? The other part that will also help you to find a good target audience are these attributes. They should all buy similar products, have a similar way in which they're buying, and also share word of mouth. And this comes from Jeffrey Moore's book, Inside the Tornado. Now let's look at our next variable, situation. This is a situation that your people are currently experiencing. So an attribute, a feeling, a setting. And it's often a pain point, so something that they actively want to change. Some examples of this could be expecting moms, so your people, have difficulty sleeping at night, a situation. Or it could be that women, people, only use 20% of all the clothes contained in their wardrobe on a regular basis, situation. Couple with young kids, people, have very messy houses, situation. And finally, parents, your people, drive their kids to sports and after-school activities many times per week, situation. Situation will be the general topic on which you're going to be working. And one thing to be clear is that the situation should not be that your people do not have your solution. That's cheating. Situation is something that they're currently experiencing and currently aware of as causing a pain point. So now that you have these two variables, what do you do with them? Your first step will be to actually weigh in your interests, your passion. What I mean by this is that you will look at locking one or the other of these variables, and then at taking a wise guess for the other one. Let's look at what this is going to look like. If you pick people, that means that there's likely a specific group of people that you want to help and support. Maybe it's because you have a sibling that has a disability and you just understand firsthand how difficult it is to live with this. Or it might be because you have very young kids at home and you have a lot of compassion for fellow new parents. Or maybe you're a new immigrant and your experience has been really tough settling into a new country. You want other people to have it easier than you. So the people that you pick are the people that you will support. And this is known. It's the people that your heart have set on. But then the next thing that you need to know is what situation are you going to work on for them? This usually is your best educated guess. So what is a situation that these people need help with? Once you know who your people are and what is potentially a situation that they need help with, your job is then to go figure out, is this true? Is this true that these people need help with this situation? And by the way, I just want to give you a little tip. Although it is true that your passion is going to weigh into the people that you pick, you can also definitely leverage your passion in understanding what situation you're going to work on. If let's say you do not like finance, you do not need to help new immigrants with their finances. I'm sure there are many more things that they can benefit from your help on. Alternatively, you might not care of knowing who you serve, but you might be really passionate about a topic. Are there certain causes that you really care about, or do you have a keen interest in industry? I know someone, for instance, who worked in banking for years, and it made him really care about people's finances. So that's the situation that he picked. But then what he needed to figure out was, who is it that has really messy finances? Who are the people that he could help? And then to go validate whether his hypotheses, the people that he picked in the situation, was true. Take a break here and do take the time to do this exercise for yourself. As I mentioned, the pyramid builds up, and this is the first layer of the pyramid. This is foundational. Everything else that you will build on will be based on this. So do make sure that you pick people or a situation that you really care about. So we just finished looking at the very first step of the pyramid, which is also the most important one, people and situation. So what you did here is that you both identified two variables, people and situations, and then you needed to confirm whether this was true, that these people had that situation. The next step then is to say, do they also have a strong desire to change? The reason why this is important because plenty of people have pain points, but however, not everyone wants to change. So just to illustrate this with an example, I had a young lady that I was mentoring at a certain point, and she came in and she was just so excited because she had just discovered that women on average only use 20% of the clothes that they have in their closet on a regular basis. And she had come up with such an exciting idea on how to revolutionize the world around this. But then we asked her to pause a little bit and to go validate. Did these people have a strong desire to change their situation? And what she discovered was no, unfortunately. I say unfortunately for her and for her business. But what happened there is that although it was true, most women were perfectly happy to only use 20% of their clothes regularly. All the other clothes that were in there were a mix of prom dresses or wedding dresses in which they no longer fit, or other clothing for special occasions, or other clothing that were memories, and that was perfectly fine by them. They had no desire to change this. So, if you are able to validate this early on, it will prevent you, like it prevented for this young woman, to go build a business where people do not actively have a desire to change. What we hope is that you're able to find people that do have a strong desire to change for their situation. In the next video, what you will get is the technique on how to validate these two first layers that we looked at. And that technique is called customer discovery.